This week's scenario is Recon from the 2016 Steamroller packet. This scenario does not have the Killbox artifact and consists of a single zone which can be patrolled for 1 CP or dominated for 2 CPs after the enemy objective has been destroyed or removed from play for 1 CP. There are also 2 flags in the scenario. Each can be dominated for 1 CP. Victory condition consists of 5 control points or caster assassination.
Hello, this is Ironback W, and I decided to kick off Mark III with Blended Barnabas. I chose Barnabas because he's got simple feet, simple approach, and a simpler list build to help get my feet wet with new Mark III rules, which I've only been through a couple times. 2 Ironback Spitters, a unit of Croak Raiders, and some Croak Hunters.
Here's my Lylyth list. I went with a pretty standard Mark II style list. Succubus, Naga, Ravagore, Seraph, Ravagore for the battle group. I wasn't very confident in Mark III rules at this point, so I played a few of the models wrong during the game, but I went with the standard Assassinate and heavy range presence list. The scenario setup was pretty standard. Heavy beast presence in the middle, the scenario on the side for a slipstream. Lylyth is a little offset from center on the right side near the forest, and rounding out the Blackfrost Shard and the Spell Martyr on the far right side. The terrain didn't play a huge part, mainly because he didn't have very many models that could hide in the forest on his side of the table, and most of mine could get through the forest on turn 1 since Eyeless Sight doesn't see through woods anymore. The hill in the middle of the table was going to be crucial, and I was trying to get models to the zone and on the hill as fast as possible.
Start my deployment by putting Barnabas in the middle, with the Ironback Spitter just to the side, on each side, with the Wrastler on the right side with the intention of running into the zone. I decided to take advantage of the clearing and all the terrain by putting my Posse on the left flank. Then kind of planning ahead, wanting my Croaks to go on the right flank. Then I put all the support pieces behind Barnabas.
For advanced deployment, the Croaks were deployed across from the Gators, where the Croaks could pick them off. The Croaks don't do very well against his beast, and definitely didn't do very well against his other Croaks due to the swamp pits. The Deathstalkers were set up on the side to possibly snipe out some Croaks that were left out of the swamp pits.
For advanced deployment, I decided to put all my Croak Raiders behind a linear obstacle on the right flank. Then I put a Croak Hunter on the far left and right flank.
Starting with my first turn, pretty standard opening turn. Everything pretty much runs. I'm checking range on the Croaks through the pre-measuring in Mark III. The Croaks try to get a better position up the board, hopefully trying to intercept the Gators as they come in later in the following turn. The Ravagores here move forward, they recoil themselves and shoot. I was playing this incorrectly. Swift Hunter actually does not trigger except on a kill. A better opening turn would be for them to actually just run up the board to be at the edge of the zone. The AoEs that they're putting down actually do very little to the Croaks, or nothing to the Croaks, due to their immunity to corrosion. In future games, I would have just ran them straight forward. The running Ravagores, coupled with Slipstream from the Seraph, which I also forgot its apparition this turn, would have gave me a much better board presence on following turns and have been out of the range of the Croaks and possibly the Spitters. The Succubus uses this Blizzard ability to put an AoE on the Seraph, increasing its defense to 16, making it pretty safe from Croaks if they were able to get range. Slipstream's triggers and moves the Ravagore. The Naga runs behind cover. Lylyth activates. She puts Mirage on the Blackfrost Shard, which was crucial later in the game for getting range. She also casts Slipstream on herself and then forgets to move the Ravagore after she moves. Everything now is just running to keep up.
For Minion's turn 1, has a standard approach as anyone's turn 1. I go ahead and essentially run a lot of stuff to the middle of the board. I run an Ironback Spitter just next to the objective to get the cover bonus, then do the same thing with the second Spitter. Now once they've gone, I just measure out what I want Barnabas to do because I know he's going to go next. I just want to know how I'm going to approach the rest of the turn. So I go ahead and cast Warpath on Barnabas because that's standard practice. And I advance Barnabas. What I wanted to do is I wanted to get Barnabas a little further up the board before I threw out a Swamp Pit, because my whole plan at this stage is to walk up the Croak Raiders into a Swamp Pit each time. So I go ahead and throw out the Swamp Pit on the right side, far enough so I can run the Croak Raiders and make sure I get all of them inside the 5-inch ring. Then Barnabas ends his turn, activate the Croak Raiders, and run them into the ring before I forget why I threw that ring out there, which has happened on occasion. I made sure to double check the wording on the card, because I know in some cases, like in Mark II, the Naga giving out magical weapons was able to get around the Protector of Minos safe passage for the Jacks. Well, I didn't see that kind of wording, so I assumed I was safe. I moved up the Croak Hunter, and I moved up Pendrake, and then I moved up the Wrastler, or ran the Wrastler. Then I went ahead and activated the Bull Snapper, who just moved up and used Spine of Growth. At this point, the Bull Snapper is primarily just a Fury Battery as well as Transfer Target. Then I activated the Witch Doctor, who advanced and put Zombify on the Posse. Then the Posse activated, they went ahead and Dirge themselves to get the concealment bonus, and ran a mighty 1.5 inches, making sure I was just outside the range of the Croaks sitting, or getting the aiming bonus and shooting. Then the last guy to go is a blue Croak Hunter.
At this point, I realized what a huge problem the Swamp Pit was going to be. The Blackfrost Shard moved from their Mirage. I needed to get some of the beasts out of the way and possibly some of the Gatorman Posse. There was no way the Croaks were actually going to get there. Power 10s weren't going to do anything to them, and I could not get any to them with oil gourds. I considered actually running a Shepherd near the Swamp Pit to target Ravagore shots off of. The Croaks actually decided to go after the Ironback Spitter. Some of them are aiming. I'm marking the aiming ones with the black token. Power 10s don't do a lot against an Armor 22 model. The nerfed Croaks are a little on the weak side, especially against Power 22. They would have been fine against any other heavy in the 18 to 19 armor range. I don't think any of them do any damage to the Croaks overall. I'm sorry, to the Ironbacks overall. The Spell Martyr tries to get a better position on the hill nearby. I wasn't sure how I was going to get pincushion on the Barnabas here if he plays more defensive and plays towards the back behind the Spitters. And the Spell Martyr was what I was hoping would survive until late game to actually stick a pincushion on him. The Ravagore puts a shot into the Ironback, does a few points of damage. I also forget at the beginning of my turn to Apparition the Seraph again. I really need to learn my Mark III rules. The second Ravagore puts a few points of damage on the Spitter. Actually, I'm sorry, the second Ravagore missed completely. The first Ravagore put a few points of damage on the Spitter. The Deathstalker shoots at the Croak Hunter, misses due to stealth. slipstream. I know the Ravagore is definitely in Croak range at this point, and not being able to deal with them was definitely a hassle. I actually expected to lose that Ravagore at this point, but my opponent went for the scenario instead of actually trying to kill the heavies. Lylyth runs into the forest, where she should be safe. At this point, I didn't really have a game plan what to do, since most of my shots had already bounced off the Ironback. I could have feeded and possibly killed the one Ironback, but that doesn't seem worth it to burn a feat for one Gator heavy.
Minion's turn 2. I go ahead and start by paying the upkeep for Warpath. Looking at the board, I notice my opponent only has 2 Croak Raiders and his objective in the zone. So since I'm the second player and it's my second turn, scoring starts this turn. So I'm thinking, alright, get a jump on that objective, or get a jump on the scenario and get some points. So after I take, my Ironback Spitter takes corrosion damage, I go ahead and start by activating the Ironback Spitter that is in the Scather template there. So as I'm still trying to figure out how I want to clear the zone, I gotta look at what's first. And the first thing is I need to move the Ironback Spitter out of the way. So he advances, takes a point of corrosion as he goes into the other Scather template, and he goes ahead and lobs a shot at my opponent's objective. Like, alright, make sure I boost a hit just because I don't want Snake Eyes to ruin my day. Hit, go ahead, boost damage, dice -4, I should be able to do some decent damage to it. Boost damage, do nothing. I'm like, wow, 1-1-2. The game's already gonna go like this, I can tell. So after Ironback is done, and disappointing, I activate Barnabas. I move Barnabas into the Scather template, takes a point of corrosion damage. Then he recasts Swamp Pit, because I want to continue walking my Croak Raiders and getting them closer to my opponent's beasts. Hopefully he gets close enough I can use the assistance of Pendrake to really help them hit those beasts. So once he puts out Swamp Pit, I'm debating because I also want to cast Death Pack on, not Death Pack, but I also want to cast his new spell onto the Gators, which gives them Vengeance and +2 mat, but I end up not being able to do that. If I continue on and advance the Croak Raiders into the new Swamp Pit, and lead off by the first one does the oil on the objective, and that hits both the objective and the Seraph. So the first Croak Raider throwing darts does pretty good damage to the objective. Because the power of the Croaks were somewhat reduced between Mark II and Mark III, I was figuring I was going to put at least half the unit into it. But the second Croak goes and does a lot of damage, and then the third Croak Raider goes ahead and kills the objective. So I was excited at this point, so I'm like, alright, let's start putting some damage into the beasts. Or not put damage into the beasts, but see if I can use these extra Raiders shots to try and clear the rest of the zone. So I successfully lighted Croak Raider on fire because I couldn't kill him because they have a reduced POW. But the Croak Raiders come through and they kill the opposing Croak Raiders in the zone. So at this point I have 2 points. One for killing the objective and one for not dominating the zone, but controlling the zone. So I'm like, alright, Lylyth, she likes her Ravagores. Let's start putting damage into Ravagores and see if I can knock him out before he uses his feet and kills me. So I do a decent amount of damage to the one Ravagore, the remaining Croak Raiders. I believe I knocked out one of its systems, but I don't have anything to stop the healing, so I do anticipate my opponent healing his beast next turn. So then I activate the red Croak Hunter, double checking, make sure that that one Strider on my opponent's left, my right flank, has stealth. He does, so I decide just move him in and get the zone. Use him next turn. I check distance to see if he's in range of one of my opponent's Croak Raiders. He actually made it. However, he can't hit the broadside of a barn as normal. So then that Wrastler activates and moves up into the zone. I was tempted to run him in there, but I didn't want to block line of sight between my second Ironback Spitter, who activates immediately after him. Advances and begins targeting the Ravagore that was damaged earlier by the Croak Raiders. So I hit him, and he does pretty good damage to him, but it doesn't do enough to actually kill him. Once second Ironback Spitter is done, I go ahead and concentrate on the Posse. At this point, I'm actually kind of concerned about my Fury management, because I have Barnabas sitting on 3 Fury, and then I have more than that on the 2 Ironback Spitters, so I'm trying to decide which one I'm gonna allow to Frenzy. But in the meantime, I go ahead and activate the Posse. They chant for extra speed against living models, and I try and send in as many as possible to tie up the Croak Raiders and kill them. Unfortunately, only 2 of the Posse members got to within range to charge my opposing Raiders. And I managed to kill 2 of the Croak Raiders and tie up a 3rd, leaving only 1 unengaged. Bull Sniper activates and has advances, get out of the way. Careful not to use his Fury so I don't have an even bigger Fury issue. Croc Duck activates, zombifies the Posse. Pendrake advances, and think I'm going to need him next turn to try and kill the Seraph with my Croak Raiders, and the blue Croak Hunter advances and throws a dart at my opponent's Spell Martyr that's on a hill. Somehow, blue Croak Hunter actually manages to hit and kill a Spell Martyr. My debate I was thinking about was whether I should just run him up there to try and engage a Blackfrost Shard.
My turn 3. The last turn could have gone a lot better. He actually put quite a bit of damage on the Ravagore right outside of the zone. He killed the objective and cleared the zone, scored 2, and the body is out on that Ravagore. At this point, I believe he had 16 points left on the Ravagore with his body out. The Shepherd moves forward, heals the Ravagore. I actually forget to move the Apparition Seraph again, or that it even had Apparition at all. And I also forget to move the Blackfrost Shard, and my opponent was kind enough to let me do their Apparition move at this point. I decided to go for the Assassination run here. I see that the game state is going down pretty bad. I'm going to lose at least probably 2 heavies next turn. I didn't really have any redeeming ways of winning this at this point. With that many ranged beasts and not enough melee damage. The Croak climbs the hill, throws at the objective, oils everything around them. The Assassination run is starting off pretty good. This is where it starts to go downhill for me. The Blackfrost Shard need to get Kiss of Lylyth, and they also need to get an Ice Cage or 2 onto Barnabas, but the unit of Gatorman are in the way. I'm trying to engineer a charge where they trigger Battle Wizard off the Gatorman posse closest to them, and can still hit Barnabas with the attack. The idea was the first Blackfrost Shard charges, a Power 9 Weapon Master shot, does some damage to the Armor 18 Gator. Then the follow-up from the second guy who has Kiss. He loses his, he kills the Gator and then can Battle Wizard the Kiss. The third guy was there just for cleanup. The first guy actually spikes his dice roll here and kills the Gator completely, eliminating my chances of getting Kiss onto Barnabas, which would have changed my turn drastically. I do try to get an Ice Cage onto Barnabas here. We can't decide on if he has line of sight. It's really close. It's skirting that base for the Posse. So we get a third party to come measure in if he has line of sight. Ultimately, he doesn't. At this point, I'm decently committed to the assassination. I just need Lylyth to stick her a pincushion. She advances forward. And lands the pincushion at range 10. Once again, not the smartest play by me. She could have stayed back even farther and still landed the pincushion. He is sitting on 3 transfers right now. It's actually looking fairly certain, the assassination run. I did not calculate a few defensive bonuses he had, but I was fairly certain with the pincushion landing, with him oiled, and the feet turn going off, Lylyth doing 5 damage herself, that I was optimistic in the assassination run at this point. The Seraph moves forward. This is where it goes downhill. The cover, he's using Effigy of Valor, is providing cover to Barnabas at a 17. Boosting the Seraph gets 2 shots, and he misses both of them, which would have further decreased Barnabas' defense at this point. I'm pretty much all in now. I can't back out of the assassination with Lylyth that close and Barnabas still having his feet. I recoil the Ravagore incorrectly. I'm actually corrected here by one of the guys watching the game. This is where I learned that that recoil only triggers off dead models. Missed shot from the Ravagore. A missed aiming shot from the Ravagore on a pincushion target, needing 10s to hit. At this point, I'm fairly certain I can't complete the assassination run, just due to the Seraph missing to drop the defense and the Ravagore missing one of his shots. Second Ravagore tries to move where it can see around the cover. It doesn't quite get it, but it does stick one of his shots, which eats his last transfer. I think a smarter play on this turn for me would be to keep Lylyth a little farther back, run a Seraph into contact with the Croaks, shoot the Croaks, try to eliminate as many as I can, Blight Bomb what's left with the 2 Forsaken that I have, possibly sacrifice the Naga to kill even more, get a better scenario presence, because the edge of my zone with the Croaks eliminated is fairly safe if I can keep out of the range of the Wrastler a little bit. the Deathstalker moves forward and does another point of damage to Barnabas. At this point, with my feet spent and Lylyth up in the middle of the table, with Barnabas's feet active, I pretty much it's game over. My assassination run failed. It was risky, looking back on it now, with the cover animus still being there. I'm sorry, the cover objective still being there. Trying to do damage control at this point, hoping beyond hope that I can jam enough Croaks up with models that they can't get to Lylyth, even though the one Gatorman right across from her can kill her on a normal charge attack with her camping 0.
Minion's turn 3. Alright, so my opponent did go ahead and help me with my Fury situation, as he made me go through all my transfers. And with the luck of the objective giving me cover, I managed to survive because my opponent missed 1 attack. So I quickly survey the board. I don't upkeep I upkeep Warpath just in case I take my corrosion damage, which the Ironback Spitter still has corrosion. Or is it fire? I believe it's corrosion. Alright, so the first thing I'm asking my opponent is if Lylyth can be knocked down. Because if Lylyth can be knocked down, she's got no transfers on her. It's a simple advance, pop feet, finish the turn. So once my opponent confirms that Lylyth can be knocked down, I advance Barnabas to within 10 inches. Go ahead and pop feet. Well, I cut myself for 2 because my opponent made me go through all my transfers. But pops feet, knocks down all but a few of my opponent's models. Then Barnabas goes ahead and throws out a flesh heater, boosting to hit, even though my opponent is on the ground. I want to make sure. And boosting damage. So I end up doing 11 points of damage to Lylyth with the Flesh Eater. Barnabas is done. I go ahead and activate the blue Croak Hunter that's on the left flank, have him advance to within 8 inches of Lylyth, then he throws a poisonous dart at Lylyth. Hits her, then manages to kill her because she has no transfers.
Afterthoughts. First, I want to thank my opponent for an awesome game. It was very well played. He actually gave me one of my takebacks when I forgot to move some models. I really enjoyed the game. In the future, I will probably work on my Mark III list building and learn my Mark III rules a little better, and possibly go for scenario. I think the addition of Ogre and War Spears in the list, as well as possibly dropping one of the Ravagores for a bolt thrower and probably a melee light would help. The list isn't as strong as in Assassination, but it's probably better on the table overall. Thanks, and I hope you guys enjoyed the game.